the Minister of Economy, Bekteshi, as the Ambassador for EU, Mr. David Geer, at the press conference are representatives from the Office of the European Union in Skopje and the Ministry of Economy. At this press conference, the Minister and the EU Ambassador will inform on the priorities of North Macedonia with the presidency of CEFTA 2021. After the address of both of the Minister and EU Ambassador will be the question of the media, and after that the question that electronically been submitted to us. Please, Minister. Thank you. Respected Ambassador, distinguished media representatives, dear colleague. It gives me a great pleasure to give the presentation of our presidency of CEFTA 2006, especially in the year when we are at the beginning of the implementation of a strategic document that will significantly affect the economic development of the region. So the regional cooperation, the Western Balkans, as well as the cooperation with the European Union. The Republic of North Macedonia in 2021 presides over the Central European Free Trade Agreement, or CEFTA. The presidency comes at the start of the implementation of the action plan on the common regional market, which was adopted in Sofia in November 2020, and its realization participated CEFTA and the Regional Cooperation Council. The implementation of the CEFTA agreement and the activities envisaged in the action plan on the common regional market 2021-24 will be the basis for the presence of the Republic of North Macedonia with CEFTA. The key pillar of our presidency is the trade. This pillar aims to facilitate the free movement of goods, capital, services and people among the CEFTA countries in order to enable prosperity and well-being for all the citizens. The priorities of our presidency of CEFTA in 2021 refer to free movement of goods, free trade and services, elimination of barriers to trade in goods and services, the additional Protocol 7 on dispute settlement, and institutional development of the CEFTA structures. In terms of the facilitating trade in goods, this year we will focus on mutual recognition of trade documents, simplification and harmonization of the procedures, and further harmonization with the EU regulations and standards. Thereby, our activities will be aimed at monitoring the progress recorded in each CEFTA party in relation to the elimination of reported non-tariff barriers, preparation of a single list with all fees and charges for import or export of goods, preparation of the action document for infrastructure implementation of quality, implementation of programs for mutual recognition, both authorized economic apparatus and others. The main focus in the implementation of trade in services we put on facilitating trade in tourism services, postal and financial services, as well as agreement to address key trade barriers in tourism and enable mutual recognition of licenses, identifying models of cooperation in order to reduce the costs for movement of people, goods, and services related to insurance in the region. Among the activities of our presidency this year will be identifying the key weaknesses in the regional delivery of shipments in the postal services, making a decision to establish a general system of recognition of professional qualifications for a certain profession by gradually expanding to other professions, adopting a framework for mutual recognition of electronic signatures, as well as other forms of electronic identification. One of the priorities with our CEFTA presidency will be the implementation of the CEFTA e-commerce guide. We will focus on setting a framework for regulatory facilitation of digital trade. Given that in previous years we have witnessed certain non-tariff barriers, in 2021 we will focus on preparing the first report on non-tariff barriers in order to identify trade barriers that the businesses in the region are faced with. One of the priorities of the presidency is the negotiation and the conclusion of the additional Protocol 7 on dispute settlement, which will create a legal framework for resolving and eliminating trade barriers between CEFTA members, for which a round negotiations has already been held in the country. In the institutional development, work will be done on organizational and functional improvement of the work of the CEFTA Secretariat. The activity imposed by the pending in the continuation of the functioning of the green corridors for earlier transit of goods through the region, as well as for the expansion of these corridors in the neighboring EU countries. As conclusion, I would like to emphasize that the presidency of CEFTA of North Macedonia in 2021 reflects our will and commitment to ensure the smooth implementation of the CEFTA agreement. Thank you. Please allow me to address you in Albanian language.
Të nderuar përfaqësues të mediave, kolegë të nderuar, është kënaqësi e veçantë për mua që të prezantoj kryesimin ton të sivjetëm të CEFTA-s, veçanërisht pas një viti kur jemi në fillim të implementimit të dokumentit strategjik që do të ndikojë në masë të konsiderueshme në zhvillimin ekonomik të rajonit, bashkëpunimin rajonal në Ballkanin Perëndimor, si dhe bashkëpunimin me Bashkimin Evropian. Republika e Maqedonisë së Veriut në vitin 2021 kryeson marrëveshjen e Evropës qendrore të tregtisë të lirë të njohur si CEFTA. Kryesimi vjen në momentin e fillimit të implementimit të planit të veprimit të tregut të përbashkët rajonal, që u miratua në Sofje në nëntor të vitit 2020 dhe në realizimin e të cilit marrin pjesë CEFTA dhe Këshilli Rajonal i Bashkëpunimit. Zbatimi i marrëveshjes së CEFTA-s dhe aktiviteteve të parashikuara në planin e veprimit në tregun e përbashkët rajonal 2021-2024 do të jenë themelet e kryesimit të CEFTA-s nga Republika e Maqedonisë së Veriut. Shtylla kryesore e kryesimit ton është tregtia. Kjo shtyllë ka për qëllim lehtësimin e qarkullimit të lirë të mallrave, kapitalit, shërbimeve dhe njerëzve mes vendeve të CEFTA-s, në mënyrë që të mundësohet prosperitet dhe mirëqenie për të gjithë qytetarët. Prioritetet e kryesimit ton të CEFTA-s në vitin 2021 kanë të bëjnë me qarkullimin e lirë të mallrave, tregtinë e lirë të shërbimeve, mënjanimin e pengesave në tregtinë e mallrave dhe shërbimeve, protokollin plotësues të njohur si protokollin 7 për zgjidhjen e kontesteve, si dhe zhvillimin institucional të strukturave të CEFTA-s. Në pjesën e lehtësimit të tregtisë së mallrave, si vjet do të përqendrohemi në njohjen e ndërsjellët të dokumenteve tregtare, thjeshtësimin dhe harmonizimin e procedurave, si dhe harmonizimin e mëtejshëm me rregulativën dhe standardet e Bashkimit Evropian. Me këtë rast, aktivitetet tona do të jenë të orientuara drejt ndjekjes së përparimit të evidentuar në secilën palë të CEFTA-s lidhur me mënjanimin e barierave të paraqitura jo tarifore, përgatitjen e listës unike me të gjitha taksat dhe detyrimet për importin dhe eksportin e mallrave, si dhe përgatitjen e dokumentit të veprimit për implementimin e infrastrukturës për cilësi, zbatimin e programeve për njohjen e ndërsjellët të operatorëve të autorizuar ekonomik. Fokusi kryesor në pjesën e zbatimit të tregtisë shërbimeve e vendosim në lehtësimin e tregtisë shërbimeve turistike, shërbimeve postare dhe financiare, si dhe marrëveshjen për zgjedhjen e barierave kryesore tregtare në turizëm dhe mundësimin e njohjes së ndërsjellë të licencave. Aktivitetet e kryesimit tonë të si vjetëm do të përfshin edhe identifikimin e dobësive kryesore në dërgesat rajonale, pra të dërgesave të shërbimeve postare. Njëri prej prioriteteve të kryesimit tonë të CEFTA-s do të jetë edhe zbatimi i doracakut të tregtisë elektronike të CEFTA-s, ku do të orientohemi drejt vendosjes së kornizës për lehtësim rregullator të tregtisë digjitale. Duke marrë parasysh faktin se në vitet e kaluara ishim dëshmitar të barrierave të caktuara jo tarifore, në vitin 2021 do të përqendrohemi edhe në përgatitjen e raportit të parë të barrierave jo tarifore në mënyrë që të identifikohen pengesat tregtare me të cilat përballet biznesi në rajon. Sa i përket zhvillimit institucional, do të punohet në përmirësimin organizativ dhe funksional të punës së sekretariatit të CEFTA-s. Aktiviteti që imponoi pandemia është vazhdimi i funksionimit të korridoreve të gjelbërta me qëllim të transitimit sa më të lehtë të mallrave në për rajon, si dhe zgjerimit të këtyre korridoreve drejt vendeve fqinje antare të BE-s. Dhe në fund, do të doja të theksoj se kryesimi i CEFTA-s nga Maqedonia e Veriut në vitin 2021 shpreh vullnetin dhe përkushtimin ton për të siguruar zbatim të papenguar të marrëveshjes së CEFTA-s. Ju faleminderit.
Благодарам, министар.
Thank you. I would like to...
Да се обратим. Повелете, евроамбасадор. Ајде, министар.
Good morning. I'm very happy to be here, together with Minister Bekteshi, to highlight the priorities of North Macedonia's chairmanship of the Central European Free Trade Agreement, CEFTA. And first of all, let me congratulate the country on the ambitious agenda, and also commend the government for its very constructive role in the process of developing a common regional market, as the Minister has said, agreed last November at the Sofia summit. This process follows up on the regional economic area initiated within the Berlin process and is very closely related to the EU's own economic investment plan, which was presented here in Skopje and across the Western Balkans by Commissioner Vaheli last October. Now, the economic and investment plan presented by the EU and CEFTA share the same objective, that is to better integrate economically the Western Balkan countries amongst themselves and with the EU. The plan also puts a strong emphasis on the building of a common regional market as a way to increase the competitiveness of the Western Balkans. This is particularly necessary for the post-COVID economic recovery and an essential prerequisite for attracting much-needed private investment. The aim is to establish a common market based on EU rules and standards, that is, free movement of goods, services, capital and people. And this means building a common market of 18 million people that will follow the model of the EU's own single market, bringing practical benefits for both the region and for the European Union itself. And the common regional market is a stepping stone for the Western Balkans to integrate more closely with the EU single market, already before accession. And I think it's important here to dispel the myth around this. Regional economic integration helps the process of accession. It is neither an alternative nor a detour from it. The Western Balkans region still faces many challenges, including economic fragmentation. There are 14 borders between the countries in the region and 18 borders between them and the EU member states. There are still prevalent non-tariff barriers to trade. For example, trucks spend 28 million hours waiting at borders every year, a cost that takes up to 1% of the region's GDP. And while each of the CEFTA countries is expanding its trade with the European Union, the intra-regional trade between them is underperforming despite the geographical proximity and traditional commercial links. Yet we have witnessed a number of positive developments in the past months. Now, one of those was mentioned by the Minister himself, establishing the green lanes or priority corridors, which was an original idea of the CEFTA countries and which led to uninterrupted flow of priority goods at the height of the COVID-19 crisis. The region is proud of this initiative, and rightly so. Waiting time at the borders has been significantly reduced, and this trend continues. Establishing green lanes at an early stage of the pandemic enabled goods to reach their destinations on time. The next phase will be to expand the priority corridors to all border crossings in the region and to those with the EU member states, along with the widening of the list of priority goods. North Macedonia's presidency of CEFTA creates opportunities for significant progress in a number of areas. I'd like to congratulate North Macedonia for being the first CEFTA country to have its authorized economic operators program validated, with Serbia and Moldova being next. This means that authorized economic operators, certified companies, are recognized as reliable traders and have priority in conducting custom clearance and in the use of pre-arrival information for faster and cheaper cross-border movement. And I'm happy that much of this has been achieved with EU assistance. This also goes for the development of relevant customs IT systems and building of modern customs terminals that will be used jointly by neighbouring countries in the future. Other trade facilitation initiatives that CEFTA is working on will undoubtedly contribute further to faster and cheaper movement of goods across borders. One of them is the mutual recognition of certificates, which has been mentioned already, and testing results of the veterinary and phytosanitary agencies. Another such initiative involves advancing the system of recognition of qualifications for a number of professionals. It will quite simply allow professionals to work across the region. And free movement of students, researchers, and professors is another important objective. And so is the development of a regional digital market and better connectivity within the region and with the EU. The EU strongly believes in the region and its potential. We will continue to work rigorously with the Western Balkan countries in implementing an ambitious reform agenda ahead of us. For its part, the EU has continued to support the CEFTA Secretariat through its multi-country programs and has committed to significant investments through the IPA3 national programs. I'd like to take this opportunity to wish North Macedonia every success in chairing CEFTA. We look forward to seeing results in the form of improved links and increased trade within the region and with the EU, which is in the common benefit of all partners. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ambassador. Now, сега следуваат прашањата од медиумите кои што...
Now follow the question of the media that are on the Zoom platform. Please, Mr. Ambassador, take your seat. Channel 4. Please state who are you addressing the question to. To the Minister of Economy, I have a question outside of the topic. Today, from 14th hour, the tourism sector, owners of restaurants, musicians today are protesting. Last year they gave ultimatum to the government to prepare protocols in order to organize all kinds of events, but they did not receive any response. So what is your comment on this? And we do know that the protocols are brought by the Commission on the Infectious Diseases. Whether you as a ministry are in a position to do anything, to do some efforts in order to create some protocols, or can they expect to be open in the nearest of the future? Otherwise, they'll be into position to close all of their premises. First of all, I would like to ask on your question. Of course, we as a economic team are always in contact with the chambers of commerce and the previous year and the unions as well, for the purpose to design the economic measures that are from the fifth package. They included the catering services and the payment of sellers, but also in the with the grant component and credits that have shown some positive results. As regards the catering services, they are supposed to be informed. In the fourth set of economic measures, they were direct grant, taking into consideration that they were closed by the decision of the government, and the government is now developing the protocols, and we have pointed this out in numerous occasions. But there's a professional commission who are the experts in the part of the pandemics, and therefore we are always respecting their proposals. At the moment we receive their certain protocol, of course we are going to adopt it as a government. In the past and now, with the fifth set of measures, are presenting that none of the business activities is going to be forgotten, including the catering sector, and therefore different measures are envisaged in the fifth set of economic measures. As regards the protests and the ultimatums, I wouldn't agree on ultimatums, and of course I would encourage all the citizens in democratic manner, as a democratic state, to express their opinion in democratic manner as the protests, and we are here as the government to assist the business and the citizens for the purpose to overcome the pandemics with less consequences. They complain from the assistance because it's too small regarding the losses of 100. They've been closed for a year, and do you believe this protest is justified? I do believe that the assistance for the economy has been sufficient, taking into consideration the proposals that were submitted through the Chambers of Commerce to the government. Over 90% of those proposals are coming from the Chambers of Commerce. Therefore, we are to make some analysis in the part of realization of the previous set of economic measures. And of course, according to those analysis, is adopted the fifth set of economic measures. Therefore, should be taken into consideration that almost 8 years we've been covering the salaries, including the catering sector, and there are certain facilitations in this very significant sector of our state. We have proposed in the past, and directly I have done some proposals, and the profits and the incomes of the year 2019 in the part of covering of in certain manner, and therefore they've been harmonized, most of the catering requests. And therefore, we have decided on such manner of assistance, not only the catering sector, but also the other activities. These measures are supported by all the chambers of commerce that were included, the unions, and of course, we are behind those measures in order to realize them as soon as possible, and in such manner to be covered all of the activities. Thank you. Next question, Andrea, Alsat TV. Andrea, who do you address the question to? My question to the Minister of Economy. What are the results from the previous year in the trade exchange among the CEFTA countries, whether we have growth or reduction, and whether the introduction of measures of reciprocity, Kosovo, Serbia, and this harmonization of these two states could have a negative impact on the trade exchange, especially our country. In 2020, as regards the trade exchange between the members of EU's countries and our neighboring countries, was within the frames of the previous years. As regards to Republic of Kosovo and Serbia, as in information, our state, or from the total exchange, 70% is with Kosovo and Serbia. As regards to the bilateral regards between Serbia and Kosovo, we wouldn't like to comment our efforts, and the presidency with CEFTA is also in part of the pillars in order to strengthen the trade and cooperation within the CEFTA member countries, but that would influence the trade exchange of North Macedonia, but would have a positive impact. But we would like to have some barriers. Our aim is to identify all the non-tariff barriers that are put on from the CEFTA country to the other members in order to facilitate the trade among our states, and with that to facilitate in the part stimulate the investments in our region and the scope of the trade for the benefit for the state citizens of our states. Andrea? Natasha, CETEL TV. Who do you address the question to? For the Minister Bekteshi, it regards to the non-working Sunday. What are the negotiation status? Whether the trade centers are going to work on Sunday or not. We as a Ministry of Economy will have stated our position, taking into consideration that the laws regarding trade and catering are within the frames of the Ministry of Economy. Previously, I have stated that some of the activities are to be exempt from this decision. As regards the trade centers, this is a strategic priority of our state, taking into consideration that on Sunday, if there are decisions on the Ministry of Labor, certain prohibition for work on Sunday, the people are supposed to have some other possibilities to go out with their families and to do some shopping, including the trade centers, and taking into consideration the trend of construction of trade and the investments in this activity, the inflow of foreign tourists on the weekends in our state from the neighboring states. I would like to state that my position is that we should be really, really careful regarding this work. The retail trade, according to our analysis, should work. In the regards of the gross trade, there could be certain activities that are not supposed to work on Sunday in order to assist all those working in the private sector to benefit the possibility of Sunday as a holiday. But once again, I would like to state the position of the Ministry of Economy that at the moment when some activities would be excluded in order to have the possibility to work on Sunday, then the per diems of those workers should be increased at least 50% of the regular per diem. Thank you. Is that all? I would like to ask another question. If the trade centers are going to work and the retail trade, oil stations, except from administration, who will not work on Sunday? There are numerous activities in our state, and most possibly, most of them are not going to work. But of course, for the attraction of tourists and development of the tourism of our state, the tourism center should work on Sunday. it will not be logic not to everything to be closed on Sunday. Where would our citizens and the tourists could go out on Sunday with their families? We have prepared comparative analysis with other states, European states as well, and those activities that have influence on the attraction of tourists in development of the tourism, of course, should be exempt from this legal stipulation that's been envisaged by the Ministry of Labour and Social Policy. If the oil stations are not working on Sunday, how are the citizens going to go out and use their vehicles and visit tourism destinations? Andrea has another question. Please. I have to ask why there is discrepancy among the ministers in the government for Sunday's free day, holiday. The Minister of Labour, the malls should be closed, and production capacities to work. This was confirmed by Mr. Bekteshi. Why there is discrepancy on the position on Sunday as non-working day in the government? Bekteshi states that you have harmonized the issue. The Sunday not to be working day for, except for some production capacities. And the Minister of Labour and Social Policy with certain exemption. But you have a completely different position. Just like you stated now, the trade centers to work, even though the Minister of Labour and Social Policy, they should be closed. Does it mean you've been not harmonized on this issue? I would like to repeat once again, the laws and how the trade regulated in our state is upon proposal of the Ministry of the Trade, the company law, the law on tourism are under competency of the Ministry of Economy. The Ministry of Economy has the experts who have already prepared all the analysis, has created the comparative analysis with other states, including the neighboring and certain EU countries. Our goal is that there should be trade on the weekends. This is our position. Of course, there'll be exemptions, and we are publicly stating as the Ministry of Economy, and therefore in Britain will be addressed when we are going to give on labor relations law that is under preparation of the Ministry of Labour and Social Policy, but we really need to be careful not to give the possibilities to certain activities not to be compatible with the activities that are done in other states in such manner to lose the scope of trade on our country, the number of foreign tourists even from the neighboring countries that are coming during the weekends. But of course, the government position is to maintain the working position, but at the same time to increase the employment in our state. As regards the Sunday as a day, once again to repeat, we are into direction of all the workers that are going to work on Sunday to have additional incomes from that day. And of course, during the week, everybody to decide which day they would like to take as a holiday. Thank you, Andrea. Now other questions from the media that have been addressed to us on electronic mail from the Ministry of Economy. Both countries are for the EU Ambassador Geer. The first question is, Mr. Ambassador, please, can you take the floor? The first question. that has come from Gavril Seracheski, TV24, regarding the EU ambassador. What is your position regarding the law on ID cards and the starting of the ethical determination, and whether it is in line with the European regulation in the personal documentation to state ethnical or any other determination? Do you see possibility for discrimination in this part? What is the position regarding the loan ID cards and the stating of the ethnical determination, and whether it is in line with the European legislation in the personal documentation to state the ethnical or any other determination? Do you see possibility for discrimination?
It's clear now. I think the question really is about what are the standards on the EU side. And as you know, the issue of alignment with the legal system, of the legal system here with EU rules and standards is an important one, and we always encourage North Macedonia to continue making good progress because these are one of the first areas that would be addressed when in-depth negotiations begin. So the standards, the relevant legislation in the EU is the EU's General Data Protection Regulation. And this prohibits the processing of personal data revealing racial or ethnic origin, political, religious, or other beliefs, and a number of other issues. Now, ID cards in the European Union are still, for the moment, subject to national law, but the regulation I've just mentioned, containing the first ever EU-wide rules on ID cards, will enter into application in August this year.
Thank you. Има уште едно прашање кое што преку електронската.
There is another question that have been addressed for EU ambassador. I would like to read the question. The political parties in the country making another effort to amend the election legislation. This is the hard implementation rules are difficult to be implemented. How do you assess this process?
Question. In October, the European Commission issued its regular report on North Macedonia's progress in moving towards the standards, the acquis of the European Union. And in it, it underlined the importance of reforming the electoral code in line with the recommendations of the ODIHR and the Venice Commission. But it said it was important that whatever changes are made in line with those rules, that they should be done in a timely fashion. So it's important that this work is now continuing, and it's important that it's done in a timely fashion, meaning well ahead of an electoral event. I don't want to go further than that. I know there are working groups continuing to work on this, but the standard that we're looking at is the standard established by the ODIHR and the Venice Commission, and that's what we're looking for, the implementation of those measures.
Thank you, Ambassador. Почитувани медиуми.
Thank you, Ambassador. Thank you, Ambassador. This was the last question. Thank you for your attention. Please be well.